Hi, I'm Jack Weaver. Welcome to the reading of my book, Going, The Abduction of a Mind. I've provided short readings in a couple other videos posted to my virtual booth. Now I'd like to present a lighthearted reading from the chapter titled, My Personal Trainer. I will follow that with something in a more serious vein and be ending with the final piece that concludes with great hope. I would like to begin with one of the endorsements offered for my book. This is from Dr. Nicholas. Reading Going, The Abduction of a Mind is so meticulously, carefully, and lovingly written, provides unforgettable insight into the challenges that accompany a diagnosis of Alzheimer's. Jack Weaver's devotion to this devastating diagnosis and its subsequent consequences, responsibilities, and requirements is not only a dynamic testimony to Jack and Janie's commitment to the promises they made on their wedding day, but to Jack's unwavering determination to ensure the normality of his beloved wife's life as she passes through each stage of her going. Signed, David R. Nicholas, Ph.D., President, Shasta Bible College and Graduate School, Redding, California. This is the next one I want to read. This is a piece about peace within the midst of turmoil, basically. Freddie is my new trainer. Well, I shouldn't say he's new. I have never had a personal trainer in the past. The idea of me having a personal trainer, that's what's new. Not that I have anything against personal trainers. I know several, and they are all good people, knowledgeable, and would be a real benefit to anyone trying to build strength or endurance, bulk up, or just get healthier. I call him Fred when I work out. The name Freddie just doesn't seem appropriate in that setting. I never felt the need for a trainer. Since my late teens, I've pushed weights random at first, and then with some understanding after kinesiology, physiology, and anatomy classes with human dissection. When I began with weight training, personal trainers weren't yet invented. I've developed my own routines over the years, and I like them, so why hire someone to change the way I do things? Fred, doesn't charge a cent. He's a volunteer who works just for the love of it. He doesn't interfere with my beloved routines, and he doesn't jabber on about how I'm doing. There's no hype with him, no shouting, come on, you can do it, one more, just one more, you can do it. He never says a word. He's a unique little guy. He stands by my left shoulder as I do my push-ups and just watches. He nods with each rep, I think to keep count. And when I get near failure at the end of my set, he tenses while studying my grimaces as though he's helping me get through the last couple push-ups. When I do my dips, he takes a position just to the right of me where I'm sure he watches the angle of my elbows and makes sure I'm keeping them close to my body. When I start to break form, he looks away and exhales air through his nose with a little puffing sound. I notice this change in his body language, and I sharpen my technique accordingly. He follows me out through the kitchen, the laundry room, into the garage where I keep the dumbbells. He sits close by and waits patiently, nodding with each rep as I pump them out. After the curls, he comes back into the house and sits by my right shoulder as I do my crunches, always alert for an opportunity to lick my face or stick his nose into my ear. He's actually Janie's pooch, sort of a therapy dog. He has just branched out to become my personal trainer. Freddie was in rescue for several months before we adopted him. The story was that he had been abandoned. He's a Pomeranian, thought to be about 8 years old when he came to live with us. There was no formal promotion. He wasn't looking for a career change. He just sort of fell into his new job title, and so far he's doing fine. He's a calm dog, not given to anxiety, but he clearly does not like some of Janie's behaviors. So when I get him out of the bedroom to feed him and the other dog between 11 or 11:30, he hides out and does not return to the bedroom to be with her. That's when he goes into his personal training mode. I do my exercises after I get Janie her lunch and feed the dogs, and before I eat. He's always right there, encouraging me in his quiet way. We haven't allowed him on the furniture, but I give him what I call couch time. After I eat my lunch, we sit on the couch together while I do a little reading. Later in the afternoon, Janie and I have an ice cream bar and he usually goes back into the bedroom to resume his therapy dog duties at that time with her. He's a great little dog for her, and she loves him to death. She never notices his absence after lunch, so I become the recipient of his personal training skills and get to enjoy a little couch time with him. Sometimes I think he just uses the personal training motif as a way to dispense a little more of his therapy. My suspicion is that he manipulated the whole couch time deal, but he lets me think it was my idea. He's really an amazing little psychologist. In Janie's present state, I'm in the position of living alone for all practical purposes. I believe he noticed that and has decided to provide time with me and to divide his time so that he can give a little companionship. He is only away from his major job a couple hours a day. It's probably a good break for both of us. Well, God is good. It seems he never answers prayers the same way twice. I guess his grace can come in any form, and I'm beginning to think it can even come in the form of a part-time personal trainer with a cold, wet nose, and I'm happy with that. I have another one titled Table for One. It's essentially about my first retreat. There I was, much like I thought I would never be, listening to music of the 50s and early 60s eras, mostly early rock with a little from each genre, some pop, light jazz, doo-wop, a dash of country. There were the Everly Brothers, Brenda Lee, and Satchmo. The salad was nice, and the coffee was palatable. Though completely satisfied, full to be precise, I had a hankering for a little dessert. There were probably a dozen choices. With the background music, I couldn't shake the sensation that I was at a soda fountain, so naturally I had a hot fudge sundae. There I sat, enjoying the sounds and flavors and feeling sad. This was a first for me, for us, though not as bad as the first that I had contemplated. The fact is, I have not left the house to go out of town for years. Our two wonderful daughters offered to give me some time off. They agreed to cover all the bases for me, watching their mother while I got away to get some rest. I say I'm not, but they may be correct. I may be a little sleep deprived. The thought that I could go out of town for a couple of days and a night, take a little break, and just not have to think about anything that had to do with Janie's care was great. They would take care of everything. My first plan was to go to the coast, visit our old stomping grounds, see some of our longtime friends, and drop in on a cousin I hadn't seen for a couple decades. Maybe walk on the beach, listen to the surf and the cries of the gliding gulls, let the warm, soft sand sift through my fingers, and feel the moist breeze on my face. But that would not work. As the time drew near for my departure, I developed a logjam of thoughts and feelings that crashed into the growing lump in my throat, and I choked on the idea of going to the coast. That's home for us. That's where we grew up. Dated, married, and began our family. We have enjoyed many return trips there together. We at one point had purchased a home on the beach for our retreats. Trips to the coast were done together with laughter, happiness, and discussions of the good old days. Yes, together was the operative word. How could I, after 48 years of marriage, do a solo trip to our wonderful past while I left her at home in her unpleasant present? Well, as it turned out, I couldn't. We had always done everything together from when we first met in high school. Even now we're doing her disease together. Alzheimer's hits an entire family and its circle of friends. It is not a selective health condition that isolates and affects an individual victim. It is a disease with tentacles loaded with suction cups that could draw anyone into its suffocating, crushing grasp. It was just too sad to think of making the trip without her. How could I sit on Trinidad Beach and lean against the same rock we sat against as teenagers, dreaming of our future, while she was at home, living out her portion of our nightmare? Mount Shasta was the compromise. Not that far from home if anything should happen requiring my presence, yet distant enough for me to legitimately feel like I had gotten away. I would leave the Sacramento Valley and go to a mountain community. The air would be fresh, contain new smells, and the cool from the snow-laden mountain would all serve to refresh me. Last night I sat alone in the Black Bear Diner, listening to a smorgasbord of music from a happier era while eating a giant hot fudge sundae and experiencing every genre of emotion. I retired early and slept in. Our daughters may have been right. I'm glad I did it. I suspect I needed it. I feel great this morning. And my final reading will be titled Hopeless and Helpless. And it's sort of a record of my ups and downs and the level of trust that I had in the Lord as I did my part of our Alzheimer's. Hopeless and helpless with a question mark. Hopeless and helpless? I admit that I kind of always prided myself on my ability to make a difference. I was able to encourage the discouraged. I could make sad people happy, calm the excited ones, and diffuse the anger of a drunk. I could always have a part in making things better, but not this time. When I was in business, if the family needed additional funds, I would just work harder, put in longer hours, dream up new ways to market my business, or even create a new business opportunity that could enhance cash flow. In my personal and family lives, if I didn't like the way things were, I changed them. Over the years, I've helped people with the move of their residence. I was involved in a ministry that assisted the elderly and reached out to the widows of the church. I was included in many work parties, cleaning up yards, tearing down old buildings, taking stuff to the dump. I've helped with painting projects, building fences, and landscape maintenance. For 43 years of my practice, I was instrumental in reducing the pain of injury. I was able to make a difference. Over our 40-year marriage to this point, Jane and I have supported 3 orphans under the Aegis of Compassion program, and we adopted 4 of our 5 children. We have supported various ministries and missionaries. Together we tried to make a difference, but we can do nothing in this case. This time we're stuck. I can do nothing to improve things, and she can do nothing at all. It seems we are in a hopeless and helpless situation. There is no hope of recovery. There is no hope for her at all. She is going away. I can't stop that. I cannot provide help, nor can she receive help. We're both helpless. She has Alzheimer's and I have no power. There is absolutely nothing I can do to make a difference. Her disease marches on triumphantly while I watch, arms hanging useless at my sides. I have never been in a situation like this one that would not yield to my efforts. The direst of calamities, and my hands are tied. She is drowning, and I am unable to throw her a lifeline. I am paralyzed to act. Talk about humbling. Talk about facing your absolute helplessness and abject weakness in a circumstance. At times the bald reality of it hits me, and I'm appalled at the depth of our need. Except for my attitude, I can change nothing in this picture. I must be 100% dependent on our merciful God's grace, on His wisdom and His guidance. His strength is made perfect in my weakness. He can do it all. I can do nothing except for what He does through me. That would be a great attitude to possess in this situation, and I will try to have that attitude. But I will have to work on it every day. New grace and faith are required each step of the way. One shot of grace doesn't immunize against all the painful elements of this disease. Like the manna, grace cannot be warehoused. Every day is a new supply. Our hands are in His. I know He will lead us through this maze as we depend upon Him. I praise Him in advance for His love and faithfulness. He is our hope and our help. Well, thank you for allowing me to read these selections to you. Thank you for visiting my booth. Thank you for considering my book. And I especially thank you for your interest in this disease. It is a growing mental health concern as this condition affects greater numbers of our population each year. We should all consider what we could be doing to help those in this condition and what steps we might take if Alzheimer's should come to visit in our home. Thank you.